Hello, everybody. So we're going to go history of the Marvel Universe. That's going to ground us into the Judgment Day. So this is a really trippy comic book. I was doing some pre-reading of it before doing it with you guys. So this is basically a conversation between Franklin Richards, which is, he is the son of Sue Storm and Reed Richards, which is Mr. Fantastic and the Invisible Woman. So they have a son who is considered the most powerful mutant in the world. Galactus goes over this to him. So Galactus is known as like world destroyer, world devourer, universe devourer. So they're at the end of time. So at the end of time, there's a story being told between Galactus and Franklin Richards. So what you're reading here in all the panels is Galactus telling this story to Franklin, so that when the new world begins, when the new world is birthed from the energy from the old world, that there's a remembrance of the time that comes before. And this is very much related to, I would say, like lost human history, if you're into that. You know, like we don't really know how old the world is, right? We don't really know. We only have what our history books tell us. But I don't know, like I've had dreams and things that tell you certain things. And I'm also working on a comic book that deals with all of us being like ancient warriors with heart crystals that just need to be activated. And once they're activated, then they're activated once you uncover what your soul mission is. And uncovering what your soul mission is not easy, right? Like think about it. I remember like graduating from high school and going to university, and I had like no idea what I wanted to do. And so I took a whole bunch of things. I ended up graduating with a double honors degree in English literature and psychology, and thought that I was going to be some psychologist. But I ended up moving to Toronto, and then big whole story. I became a personal trainer and a project manager, worked at really big corporations and stuff like that, and it all came around to just like, wait a minute, I just want to make comic books and write. So that's what I'm doing. I did that whole big long roundabout to come back to this. So thank you guys for joining me for that. This is going to be, I'm going to do a read of this just from a perspective of Captain America. So this is, how should I put this? It's like everything, right? So all of the Marvel people, it goes in chronological order as to like how they came to be. So I'm just going to find a quick little spot in terms of when the Eternals are first mentioned or when they're first created, because it'll give you a sense of like a timeline as to why like the Eternals feel like they're gods, I guess. So let's go from here. I'm going to I'll do a beginning panel read, and then we'll jump ahead, because what is time anyways, right? That's what we're dealing with anyways. What is time? So let's do the beginning, because even if you were here, it's a nice little refresher, right? Okay, so let's go, friends. Let's begin. Okay, so are you ready? Yes. No. Franklin Richards. Galactus. The End of Time. My favorite comic book. Oh my gosh. Hold on a second. Let me just bring this up a little bit. My favorite comic book is, oh my gosh, I can't choose that. It's Civil War with Captain America, but I don't have it like with me right now. I am blending certain things out. Okay, so let's start from the beginning so I can do that a little bit more epic, and I can do Galactus's voice a little bit more. So, history of the Marvel Universe. Are you ready? And Franklin Richards says yes, and then reconsiders, saying no. You're like, yes, no, I'm ready. No, I'm not ready. Galactus. Franklin Richards, The End of Time. Final entropy isn't yet complete. I can sense a few last living particles here and there. There are 2 left in the Andromeda galaxy, each terrified of leaving the other alone. Ah, we have a little time before the universe dies. So he's like cross-legged, and they're having this conversation at the end of the world. And then so end of time, even, it's not even just the end of the world, because as you'll see in Judgment Day, we go through many ends of very many ends of the world, right? What troubles you? For one thing, we've known each other for billions of years. I'll miss you. You're not afraid to die. It is my purpose. My energies are all that remain to create the next universe, which is going to be your new home. After I move on, I'll still have my memories, won't I? Sorry, you don't know for sure. I get that. Oh my gosh. Dying. We've never been afraid to do that. Already been done in return. Yes. I mean, dying is just another portal, right? It's just another gate. It's just another threshold. Once we are okay with that, we can have, it's like we can truly live, right? There is no life without death, but it's also just, yeah. Okay. So let's keep going. So it's kind of like, this is meta, right? There's a story within a story, because, I had a break. You can see like mushroom land in my background, right? So I had a breakthrough mushroom experience. This is about like 3 or 4 years ago now, where I like remembered that I wrote a book when I was 14, and I think it's also, yeah, Captainess America. And in my book, I'm the captain of the Dragon Warriors. I like the trope of captain. Captain is like a title, because what is the planet? What is the Earth but a big mothership, right? I haven't watched Crisis. I've read the comic book. That's going to be the first comic book that we do our Cosmic Comic Book Club on. Okay, let's keep going here. I'm going to get on such a tangent with you guys. I'm trying to do a live recording of this part so I can have it for you guys afterwards. But then when I go in the editing, I'm like, oh my gosh, so many tangents. But they're good though. We end up with some cool like insights here. All right, so after I move on, I'll still have my memories, won't I? So this is like, if you think about, this is balancing our darkness and our light makes us more complete. Oh my gosh, such wisdom in the chat, you guys. I love that. Beings upon the earth, please continue. Oh, you guys, it's like you guys are meant to hear this reading, right? I was telling, who was I telling this to? It's just my sister and I have a little sister. She's a big nerd. She actually makes video games. She works for EA. And so she actually used to work for Microsoft. She's the reason why I have an Xbox Series X for free. But we were big nerds growing up. We might as well have been, but I was like a girly nerd. Like I was into video games and like all that kind of stuff, and comic books. I had comic books, and I'm 39 years old. I was born in 1985. So Crisis came out in the 80s when I was born. So I have, oh my gosh. No, I can't. TikTok won't let me. Okay, so let's keep going. So I want the history of this universe to have meant something. It is important to me. Before I go, please help me to remember. Remember what? Everything. Very well, says Galactus. And then he goes into the whole story. So I am not going to go into that whole story right now, because we've already done that. We are going to be reading this comic book. That's going to be the main focus of this evening. Judgment Day. 1985 was 10. Yeah, I was born in 1985. So it tripped me out because the issue where Supergirl dies is April 1985, and I was born that month and that year. So it just energy signatures and things like that. So oh, thanks you guys. So the whole purpose of this is like I'm also like, I call myself a neuro-linguistic astrologer. So if you guys are familiar with NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming, it's the idea that the words we say to ourselves in our own minds matter. And we all have different glossaries of terms. And I'm a big Oh yeah, that's why I'm doing it. Exactly. I had some awesome teachers growing up. I had like, I remember my grade 5 teacher told me, she's like, you should write kids books, Rachel, when you grow up. Like, oh, cool, because I was always a creative writer. Always like I had tons of stories. I used to like at recess tell all of my friends all the dreams I had about them and all these like fantastical stories that just kind of came to me. And I've now realized that like anyone who creates these stories, like I've read a lot of comic books in terms of like research, in terms of how time travel works, and we're all we're all pulling from the logos of creation, right? So I'm not so narcissistic to think that my stories are completely mine. I'm pulling from like what the cosmos needs us to tell to each other, right? And that's why I'm reading this to you guys, because you found this because destiny needed you to hear maybe something from it. So even if you get like just one line from it, maybe it was the line that you were meant to hear. That's all. And it's just, it's strange right now. So sometimes I'll like randomly open one of my comics and like read a panel and be like, oh, I was supposed to hear that. And Captain America has a really beautiful quote, which is a riff on Mark Twain, right? Which is that, when the mob and the press is telling you everything that you're doing is wrong, is right, and what's right is wrong, but you know what's right in your heart of heart. That's right, right? And so when that's the case, it's your job to stand like a tree by the river of truth and say, no, you move. And then just having the courage to do that and believe that you're right, and not in like a narcissistic, like, I know I'm right. But there's a cool thing in this comic book, Judgment Day. There's like the Eternals fancy themselves as gods, right? So they decide to determine judgment on humanity. And so there's tests that each of these guys go through. And like Tony Stark, like it's interesting, the dynamic of the different superheroes and what does it mean to be a hero, right? Okay, so just to give you guys some background before we get into this, because there's a lot of there's a lot of characters in this. Look at this beautiful cover too, right? And that's why I'm doing Cap, because there is a female version of Captain America too, known as Miss America. So I'm her. I don't know if there's any actual comic books about her. Yeah. Okay, so let's see here. There's the Eternals are kind of in the beginning. So let's do the beginning like stuff here, and then I'm gonna jump to some Captain America stuff, and then I'm gonna stop my second recording, and then we'll get into Judgment Day. All right, guys, let's do it. Okay. Your universe was created from the eruption of another dying reality. It was onto this new existence that I, its sole human survivor, Galan of Ta, emerged without shape, without form. With that eruption came echoes of energies, echoes of consciousness, which coalesced into cosmic beings embodying the sentience of the universe, adorning. So there you go. I like that's a nice way of talking about cosmicness, like forces being embodied. And so for us to perceive them, we personify them, right? And then many of these abstracts, eternity, master order, Lord chaos, and death, joined the multiversal living tribunal to watch me as I entered my cosmic crucible, where I began the long process of transforming into something more than mortal. Mm-hmm. Birthed too from the maelstrom of creation were 6 stones of unspeakable power. They would come to be known as the Infinity Gems. So that's what the Infinity Gems. So the Infinity Gems were actually created at like the birth of everything, right? So that's kind of cool. I am part Asian. So my background is my father is South African and my mother is Filipino. So I call myself a panda. I'm like black, white, and Asian. Blasian. Okay, so here we go. Meanwhile, the building blocks of this universe began to coalesce into stars and planets. Yes. When I was in the 80s, I grew up in the prairies, and being a mixed race person out there, they all just thought I was native anyway. So it all worked out. But I was just like, there's no one like me until my sister was born. Then I was like, oh, there's two of us now. Okay. So I'm trying to find where the Eternals are. Because there's the Phoenix Force here, which is important. Because Jean Grey is inextricably intertwined with the Phoenix Force. I have a strong bond with the land and the prairies, and I'm a big fan of Canada having a lot of sacred sites that need us activating them. There's mines and sapphires and amethyst mines. There's a lot of stuff here that we haven't done a good job of key times in the year, like solstice. Why don't we all go to the petroforms and the white shell at solstice where there's the turtles, and do a vision quest together or something and figure out what superpowers we're supposed to activate, things like that. So okay, so let's see here. I'm trying to see if there's something that kind of talks about the creation of the Eternals. You know what? Okay, I'm just gonna jump to Cap, so I have a panel of that, and we'll go from there. It actually ends. Next time I think we'll do the ending of it. Okay. Here. Let's do this. So let's do this panel, and then I'm going to move to the actual comic book read of tonight. This is the history of the entire Marvel Universe, where Galan of Ta, also known as Galactus, is talking to Franklin Richards about the history of the entire Marvel Universe. So just about that. Okay. So although some held the captain in disgrace, his nation nevertheless fell into mourning after the machinations of the Red Skull brought about his assassination. We read this last time. I didn't know this, that the Red Skull actually assassinated Cap. That happened. What? Right? What the heck? And then 2 men were instrumental in bringing the Skull to justice and maintaining Roger's dreams for America. One, Sam Wilson, had partnered with Rogers during a prior conflict with the Skull, assuming the costumed identity of the Falcon. Yes. And then telepathically linked with his bird of prey, Redwing. Is there a Redwing in the movies? Do you guys know? With the Falcon? Does he have a... Anyways, someone let me know. And, okay, so telepathically linked with his bird of prey, Redwing, Wilson divided his time between defending the Earth as an Avenger and protecting his neighborhood in Harlem, New York. The other, the Winter Soldier, honored Rogers' final request by adopting the role of Captain America and continuing his friend's legacy. So that's where Cap ends in this, I think, in terms of his assassination. We also talked about how the Skrulls... Oh, yes, we read this last time. Oh, and then we had some Phoenix Force. I'm going to jump to this panel now, too. Under Rogers' leadership, Earth's superhumans rallied against Osborn. Oh, let me read up here. How did Captain America come back, though? Osborn's ultimate undoing was the result of his own hubris as he tried and failed to conquer Asgard. After the aftermath of Osborn's defeat, Steve Rogers accepted the position of Commander of America's National Security under the condition that the Superhuman Registration Act would finally be repealed. So Redwing is the drone wings in the movies. Oh, okay. So that's how they did Redwing. You know what, though? I love that trope, though, of I've always wanted this, you have a little, a falcon, sits on your shoulder and you is your eye, and you like go out. I don't know if you guys have played the video game Prey, like the old one, where you have like you go into the spirit world and you have like Talon who can go out and be your eyes. I like that concept. So I love that they did it in spirit, but it'd be cool to see like an actual, you know, bird, spirit animal be their eyes and things like that. So let's see, Eternals. Okay, wait, there might be something here. I'm going to read this and then we'll go into the next book. So we talked about, oh my gosh, we talked about Cable. I didn't know, I didn't know that Cable was Nathan Summers, which is the son of Cyclops and Madeline Pryor, and Madeline Pryor being the clone of Jean Grey. And you guys know that I love cosplaying as Jean Grey, so I'm working on a Phoenix Force cosplay so that I can do like a little like Jean Grey talks to Phoenix segment situation. So let's read this piece. So having been gathered from across the cosmos, the Infinity Gems proved the greatest threat yet to reality. Oh yeah. To impress his beloved Death, Thanos embedded them into the Infinity Gauntlet, giving him the ability to eradicate half of all life in the universe with the snap of his fingers. And we all know about that storyline as per the movies. Only once the gauntlet was stolen by the space pirate Nebula was the universe restored. Its gems were taken into the custody of Adam Warlock and his hand-picked Infinity Watch for their protection. Soon after, however, Warlock's evil counterpart, the Magus, faced Earth's defenders in an attempt to restore the gauntlet. Had Warlock not secretly replaced one of the stones with a non-powered replica, the resultant conflict would have destroyed them all. So there was basically essentially like a fake stone put in, and that was what like saved the day. So and then let's see here, despite every attempt to keep them apart, the gems would continue to accumulate from time to time. So that's good that we talk about Thanos. They don't really talk about the Eternals, or rather, I can't find it right now. I will find that later, and we'll put that into the resource sections of our Cosmic Comic Book Club. So, Mystique. I like Mystique. We'll talk about Mystique. Let's get into the other comic book.